Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning and welcome to Addis Ababa. For those of you who are coming for the first time, a very warm welcome. For those of you who are already familiar with this wonderful city, it's great to have you back. My name is Komla Dumont. I'm the host of Africa Business Report on BBC World News Television and an anchor for The World Today, also on the BBC World Service. It's indeed a pleasure to be back in Addis. It's always fun, it's always exciting, but even more so when we're having extremely timely discussions like the one we are about to have. I'll say something before we meet our panel. As host of Africa Business Report, I've traveled to something like 20 countries now, meeting entrepreneurs and meeting people who are creating opportunity and wealth out of their own innovation. And I must say that it is completely obvious that innovation, and especially innovation in technology, is essential for the continent's progress. Whether you are in Sierra Leone, where I've been recently, or Rwanda, or Mozambique, or Namibia, the story rings true. Innovation is essential for Africa's growth. But there are still questions that need to be answered. What kind of innovation? Who should own that innovation? Who should set the agenda? What's the role of government and the private sector? Now, what we want to do here is to have, I think, what will be a very engaging conversation about these issues. But as always, what you put into these panel discussions is what you get out. It is important to hear from our panel, but it is also important to hear from those of you who have experience directly on the ground dealing with some of the concerns that we are going to raise here this morning. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let me introduce the panel to you. I'll tell you a bit about the format. They are going to give you very short and brief PowerPoint presentations to give us the salient thoughts, the key messages that they have. I will then ask them some questions, and as quickly as possible, we will open this up to the floor. This is not meant to be a very formal, strictly rigid kind of conversation. It's a conversation between us and between the panel. So if there are things that you disagree with, please make some notes and challenge them on it, because at the end of the day, we all want to go away better informed and better experienced as a result of this conversation that we're going to have. So I'll start without any particular order, though, and introduce our panel to you. First, let's have a round of applause for Ida Opoku-Mensah, the director at UNECA. She's been kind enough to invite me and to bring us all here together. Everyone knows Ida in this town. David Keller, next to her on the right, is the chief executive of the Africa Innovation Foundation. David, it's great to see you and finally to meet you, and well done for supporting this event. My good friend Emeka Okafor is an entrepreneur and venture capitalist. Let's have a good round of applause for him, and I can assure you he has some very strong views that he'll be sharing with you a bit later on. Let's have a round of applause for Professor Gurib Fakim Amina, Professor of Chemistry and Managing Director of the Phytotherapy Research Center at the University of Mauritius. You're welcome, Professor. It's great to have you here. A good bounty and welcome to Professor Julius Akinyemi, an entrepreneur in residence at MIT, the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. Welcome to our panel. And not because I am a Ghanaian and we have a tendency towards nepotism, I'm going to ask Ida Opoku-Mensah to start our program with her presentation. Ida, the importance of innovation is, I think it's known to everyone who is here. With your presentation, I think there are certain key things you want to nail, some things you want to address. So I'll leave it to you, and then we'll pick up from there.
Okay, thank you very much, Komla. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Ida, you might want to bring that microphone slightly down.
And representatives,
there you go.
Yeah. Thank you. Good morning, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, representatives of our member states. My presentation is really just to quickly touch on some of the activities that is required in terms of the culture of innovation and how to create the enabling environment on innovation, and then maybe give you one or two key examples of what ECA is doing. Our work is typically guided by the UN General Assembly resolution that stresses the significance and importance of science, technology, and innovation in enhancing economic activity and economic growth in societies. And we speak to this global agenda by giving it an African perspective and an African flavor. One of the things that is very key to being able to assess the innovation ecosystem in a country is looking at the number of patent applications. Komna in his introduction talked about how do you create a culture of innovation, innovation for whom? But if you look at this slide, you will see that in a year, a country like China produces over 300,000 patents, compared to maybe Egypt, that produces 605. Or South Africa, that produces 821. And so that gives you an indication, if you look at these patent applications, the kind of innovation that is rapidly going on in the society. So what is innovation? Well, we think that it is the fountain or the wellspring for economic growth. It's also highly dependent upon motivated individuals and entrepreneurs. Again, Komna alluded to that. To what extent are these individuals given that wherewithal to be able to flourish? And there you can unpack a whole lot of things. Is there venture capital in those societies? Or are there angel donors? How do they, are the banks, the banking system supporting such ideas? Essentially, what is required is how do ideas flourish in these environments. And typically in Africa, these are where the bottlenecks are. So, you know, the whole idea of innovation is how do you improve on existing products or production and processes and services, and how do you create new initiatives. And in well-advanced economies, this doesn't seem to be a problem. However, there are signs that there is a lot of innovation happening in Africa, and this is something that we need to capture. So I'll give you some pointers as to what ECA is doing to address this. But what is very important is that African policymakers, particularly those in ministries of finance and economic planning, need to be able to factor these concepts, this concept into their economic planning endeavors. And so the innovation ecosystem, this is the model that we're showing, and the essence is how do you highlight the relationships amongst the key actors that will enable innovation, technology development, technology transfer, and things like that. Komna has given me a few minutes, precious minutes. So let me very quickly, the slides, we'll send you the presentation. But let me quickly give you an example of what we are doing in ECA to promote innovation. In partnership with the Africa Innovation Foundation, which David will talk about shortly, we launched the Innovation Prize for Africa. This year's Innovation Prize, and some of the shortlisted candidates are actually in this room, is focused on 3 thematic areas, and we want to try to create the platform for identifying innovative concepts and projects by individuals from across Africa, and how these can be scaled up or these can be supported. It looks at encouraging entrepreneurs, innovators, inventors, and creating the necessary means for them to be able to take their concepts, their ideas one step further. And the prize is there, as you know. This chart shows you that the applicants were from all over Africa, from Cape to Cairo. In some cases, the country sent over 30 to 40 applications. There were 38 countries out of the 54 member states of ECA and the AUC. Applicants by theme, this shows you by country and as to which area. So let me also very briefly touch on another, and some of the panel members seated here were on the Technical Advisory Committee that have come together to select the winner, the first and second prize winners for the prize. And this will be announced tomorrow at the Sheraton from 6 p.m. going. There are a number of initiatives, but let me very quickly end on the African Network for Drugs and Diagnostics Innovation. This is an initiative that ECA, together with WHO, launched, looking at how we can address African R&D challenges in terms of the pharmaceutical industry. We have looked at putting in place Pan-African centers of excellence in health innovation, and this map of Africa shows you where all these centers of excellence are based. And my colleagues are here from the Andy Network Secretariat, and if you want to talk more, they're there. Foluke and Alex can tell you more about this project. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ida. Now we're going to have a bit of a switch around. David Keller from the Africa Innovation Foundation is going to give us his presentation. As we get the technical side of things set up, Ida, let me throw this quick question to you, just as we get ready for it. I was looking at your map of patent applications, and it's Egypt and it's South Africa, basically. But where is the rest of Africa? There's a big gap, obviously, between, sub-Saharan Africa and then, the topmost parts of South Africa. What seems to be the problem? Is it that governments in those regions have not yet realized the importance of the issue of innovation, or they just are not providing the kind of environment in which those patent applications can flourish?
It's a combination of both. First and foremost, as I said, overall in Africa, the climate for innovation or the enabling environment for innovation is what policymakers need to look at. And I hope we can share some ideas on that because both Egypt and South Africa have a very pro-innovation policy by their governments, and they're trying to put in place a number of the requirements for the enabling environment. Intellectual property rights are something that these two governments take quite seriously. It's part and parcel of the economic development policy of both South Africa and Egypt. It is something that the rest of Africa needs to learn from and be able to nurture this. Okay,
we'll go into that in greater detail, but now I'd like to present David Keller, who's going to share his thoughts, obviously, about the award itself, but also about fostering innovation in Africa. David, please.
Thank you very much. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to be here and shortly present our view, the African Innovation Foundation's view, based in Zurich, founded by African founders, chaired by Ambassador Walter Fuss, who is also here. Our view on innovation. The title of my presentation changed several times. I was told I had to include economic growth, so I have included economic growth, even if I'm neither a macroeconomist nor an expert in African growth, but I had to include it.